Hi everybody, this is Karen Blanc. Welcome to my channel. It feels so good to be back with you all. I took a little bit of a hiatus. I was going through a lot of physical changes, a lot of physical discomforts, and so I haven't posted in several weeks. And I miss you guys so much, but I knew that the first video I was gonna do when I came back was about managing chronic pain. And just to give you a little background on myself and what I've been going through, I've just went through kind of a long time period for me. It was several weeks where I was not feeling well. I was experiencing constant nausea, constant discomfort, really around the clock. And it was just a really challenging time. And I was just totally shocked at the impact that how my physical discomforts had on my mind. My mental and emotional health really suffered. I was really struggling mentally, and I just wanted to make this video for anyone who's struggling with chronic pain. I just wanted to make something that might help you in your time of need. So some observations I had when I was going through this period in my life. So number one, when I'm usually not feeling well, I'm down, something happens, and I just need to like redirect or get more upbeat, I always turn to my videos, special videos that I've saved over time. Typically, it's like my favorite motivational speakers or my favorite spiritual teachers, and usually they have something to say that is just gonna totally turn my day around. It's gonna give me something else to think about, and it works almost all the time, right? But when I was going through this period, literally all I could think about was how bad I felt at that time. All I could think about was the physical discomfort I was experiencing, and I couldn't think of anything else. And during this period, I remember, Eckhart Tolle is one of my favorite spiritual teachers. His videos, his audiobooks are typically a go-to for me when I'm feeling down. And I remember, and also, let me say that my physical discomforts were a result of being pregnant and I'm expecting. So I remember trying to turn to these Eckhart Tolle videos, and I just remember I became so skeptical. I would be listening to these videos that used to lift me up, and I would be like, oh, well, that's easy for him to say. He's never been pregnant before. And it was just a total change of character, total change in personality for me. I didn't even know who I was anymore. I was so skeptical. That's usually what people say about me. When I'm usually talking about my motivational stuff, my spiritual stuff, people are always like rolling their eyes, like, oh, that's easy for her to say, for whatever reason. But it's very interesting. I really started to observe the mind a little bit because it's very easy. It's very interesting how the mind tries to make sense out of what is happening, right? So when we're not feeling well, it's interesting how the mind labels other people's lives as easier, right? When we're struggling, everybody else's life must be easier. If we're not able to pick ourselves up, if we're not able to change our mood, change our feelings, if we're not able to redirect, somehow we start to project that on to other people, right? We start to say, oh, well, this person, that's easy for them to be happy. They're rich, or it's easy for them to, do whatever. They already accomplished their goals, or, that's easy for them to be happy. It's easy for them to say positive things. So this was a very interesting element to what I was going through and a very interesting observation for me. Another observation is I kept coming back to this quote Eckhart Tolle said once. He says that we think we are our minds. And this is kind of part of our spiritual struggle, if you will, that we're so identified with our thoughts that we think we are the thoughts. And on some basic level, I kind of understood what he was saying, but I never really understood it. And again, one statistic that I love is that the average human being has about 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And researchers have found that 94% of those thoughts are the same thoughts we had yesterday. And when I was going through this period of just experiencing this constant chronic condition and physical discomforts, I couldn't think about anything I normally think about. So if these are the 60,000 thoughts I typically have in a day, in my average day, I was not thinking about any of those things. All I could think about is how bad I felt, how I wanted to feel better, how I wish I didn't feel what I felt at that time. And it was just really this just mental battle. And what I realized was without my typical 60,000 thoughts a day, I didn't even know who I was. It was just this very sobering feeling of, I don't even know who I am. I'm not thinking about the things I'm normally thinking about. And I wanted so badly to be thinking about my videos, my online course, real estate. I wanted so badly to be thinking about the things I normally think about that it really just took me to this really dark place. Who am I? And eventually I was able to realize that who am I question came from not having the typical thoughts that I have in a day. And I finally understood what Eckhart means when he says we think we are those thoughts. Our identity comes from our typical thoughts in a day, that without that we don't even know who we are. And it was really a startling realization to think about. But it was also it was very humbling experience, especially because I have to say that prior to experiencing these physical discomforts, I was on a spiritual high. I was on my spiritual high horse. I had all the answers. I was on cloud nine. I was able to inspire anybody and everybody, and then I went from that to then having to go to my meditation classes, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to tell these people. I am going through it myself right now. Like, how can I hold space? How can I be present for the people who I'm teaching when I myself am struggling? My mind is all over the place, right? So it was definitely a humbling experience that, some of you may be going through that humbling experience, not knowing what people go through when they're feeling physical discomforts. I really started to have a lot of empathy for people who experience chronic pain. I say every time you go through something in life, you find a new group that you now belong to, right? You find a new tribe that you belong to. So with each experience we have that's really a struggle for us, we find a new tribe. And experiencing this, I really started to have a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy for people who may be experiencing pain. And also, what was surprising to me was also the mind-body connection. Even me, someone who teaches meditation, someone who's read all the books, right? Not all of them, but who's read a lot of books on the mind-body connection, actually going through it was so shocking for me. I remember author Tara Brach in the book Radical Acceptance. She talks about our mind. Our mind are constantly reacting to everything that's going on in our body. So if we want to really kind of withdraw from the mind, withdraw from those negative thoughts, those judgments, really you have to come into your body and ask yourself, where am I feeling this? Where are my physical discomforts? Because that's really the starting point, right? We know there's a mind-body connection. They can affect each other. But truly, I really experienced this. It was incredible, the impact that my physical body had on my mind, and just my ability to not be able to come out of that. So with that, I want to give you, I know there's not much I can do for you, for those of you who are going through this, but I want to leave you with 3 tips to keep in mind if you are someone who's struggling with chronic pain. So, 1, when you feel good, feel it. Let yourself feel it totally, enjoy it, sink into the joy. One thing I noticed is that anytime I did feel good, anytime there was a little bit of a disruption in my physical discomforts, my anxiety would come in. I would think, oh man, how long is this pain going to stop? When is it going to come back? When am I going to start to feel sick again? I was anxious. It's like, are the good times going to last? I was kind of going down that rabbit hole, and it wasn't helping me, right? And eventually I just taught myself, hey, if you feel good right now, feel it. Maybe the discomforts are going to come back, but if you have this moment to just feel good, just let yourself feel it. Don't let your mind take over. Don't let the anxiety of when the pain's going to come back take over. Just really enjoy that moment. The other tip that I will give you, number two, is live one day at a time. This is always advice that's given. It can seem and sound very cliche, but it became so imperative when I was going through what I was going through, because I couldn't think about anything in the future. Again, I couldn't get past how I felt at this point, in this time, in this moment, that it was almost impossible to think about the future, which was somewhat a blessing in disguise. I tend to be an over planner. I tend to have anxieties about the future. And really going through this period in my life, it forced me to live one day at a time, because I had so much on my plate that all I could manage, all I could think about was, what do I have to do today? And it really helped. It really eased my anxieties. I just said, okay, what do I have to do for my child today? What do I have to do for my household today? What do I have to do for work today? What do I want to get done before I go to sleep? What do I want to experience today? It doesn't always have to be a list of chores or to-dos and that sort of thing. But what do I want to experience today? What do I want to read today? What do I want to look up on the internet today? But I really had to narrow my focus on what am I trying to accomplish today. I really couldn't go outside. I certainly didn't have time for the past, which was probably also a blessing in disguise, but I couldn't go into the future. I really didn't have that mental capacity. But again, it forced me to live one day at a time. And that's actually something that, although my condition is improving, has stuck with me. And number three, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. I cannot stress this enough. As a meditation teacher, I always tell my students that your body, anytime you're feeling some kind of discomfort, it's your body's way of trying to get your attention. And you want to bring your attention there as much as possible. It might be something simple as, a hunger pang, and it could be something more extreme, like extreme physical pain. Whatever the feeling is, your body is trying to get your attention. Be kind to yourself. Now is not the time to berate yourself. Now is not the time to put more on your plate. Now is not the time to condemn yourself because you snapped at your child or you snapped at your partner. Just be very forgiving of yourself. Be very kind to yourself and take really, really good care of yourself. So thank you for listening today. I hope this was helpful. If you want to hear more, please visit my website at karenblanc.com. Thanks. Bye.